This is the Circle City News. Listen or watch us on Facebook, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and other places that play fine podcasts. Or visit our blog at circlecitynews.org.
Welcome back to Circle City News. This is Sophie Hostetler, and today we are joined by attorney Mark Nicholson.
Hello, I'm attorney Mark Nicholson from the Law Office of Mark Nicholson.
Yeah, and today we've gotten together with Mark to discuss the International Heartland Film Festival held here in Indianapolis annually. I believe this was correct me if I'm on the 31st annual?
I think so, or 32nd, something
32nd,
like that.
I believe, yes,
Yeah.
I think that's correct. And you went and saw two different movies, right? So this is like an 11-day event. So when did you get into see them?
This is my first time going, and I saw Jericho Ridge on Sunday, and on Saturday I saw The Space Race. Both of them were fantastic movies. I've never went to the Heartland Film Festival, so I was really excited to be able to make it.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, so to start us off, we can talk a little bit about The Space Race. It is a documentary featuring African Americans who worked on during the space race. Although I believe it covers, from earlier in the 60s of like the moon landing all the way, I believe, until 2020. It ranges, right?
Yeah, right. Yes, or 2023 all the way. Yeah, yes. So yeah, it's a really fascinating story of the African American astronauts and getting into the space race, and was really exciting about it because I didn't really know too much about the African American pilots other than like this one, Dr. Jemison, that went up into space. I didn't know this rich history of all these other African American astronauts that. Basically President Kennedy, during the kind of the space race, that he had the program where he wanted African Americans to be a part of it. Then when he got assassinated, the one African American that was in there, they end up kind of getting booted out of the program. I was
giving him the boot.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but it was really educational, and I highly recommend that particular movie.
Right.
A documentary, I guess, technically.
Yeah, I think it's considered a documentary. The director, one of the directors, I believe there's two co-directors, Lisa Cortez and then Diego Gerardo de Mendoza were the directors on that. And this film, The Space Race, did win one of the awards at the festival. They won the Richard D. Probst Social Impact Documentary Feature Award. And I believe they won about, I think it was like a $2,000 award given to them, which is super awesome. The Richard D. Probst Social Impact Award has to do with Richard D. Probst. He is wheelchair bound and has traveled over 5,000 miles, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars around the country towards charities. And his tour is known as the Tenderness Tour. So I just thought it was a cool impact story, and that they won that award was really interesting. Where did it go? Yeah, so a lot of the African American astronauts that were, the real people are in this documentary sharing their stories.
Yes, it was. They really didn't have any actors. Everyone that they really spoke to in the documentary were the real people that were involved in this, race to space.
Right. I just think that's interesting that they were able to get. Maybe not everyone necessarily from who was involved in all of those projects, but this isn't like a grade A film, Hollywood budget movie or documentary. So I thought that was really awesome that they included so many people in their aim for this documentary as well. Any other thoughts?
No, I just think that people should go see it if you're interested in history, if you're interested in space, if you're interested and the perseverance and determination that people can have to achieve some of their dreams. So not only was it kind of this documentary about history, but I also saw it as a motivational tip and advice of being able to try to overcome something, to achieve something that people may say, oh, there's no way you could do this at all. And you just say, I'm going to keep trying, I want to keep trying, and you achieve something that is in the history books.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe, I may stand corrected, but this is one of the only documentaries I've heard of in regards to, astronauts in NASA and space and with African Americans, besides the other movie that was done a few years ago, it's centered around not the moon landing, I don't think, but it had quite a few famous African American women.
Oh, yes. You're talking about, I believe, Hidden Figures?
Hidden Figures, yes. And I feel like this is the
Figures.
first movie I've seen since Hidden Figures came out, which was also a great movie, very informative, but from a documentary sort of point of view, you really get real facts and what real people went through. So I just thought that was really interesting as well.
Right. That was a movie that was based on real life people,
right?
And real story. This obviously is a little bit different because it's documentary and involves some of the people that participate in those events.
Right. I just think it's cool to see the kind of, not necessarily the comparison, but the fact that more of these types of movies and true stories are coming out from these films being put out.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome.
Cool. And then you said the other movie you saw was called Jericho Ridge.
Yeah, Jericho Ridge is basically a movie about this small town sheriff, and there was an officer, or a deputy technically, since it's a sheriff, and the deputy station, is being overrun by these killers that are trying to get something from the sheriff station. So it's her battle trying to defend her life and her son's life and the sheriff's station from being overcome by these killers. So it really kind of caught my eye, and I'm glad I went to see it because it had me on the edge of my seat. There were a couple areas towards the end that were kind of like, hey, man, why is this? Because you're obviously watching a movie and you're saying what I would do if I was in that situation. But why did she do this? But overall, it was a good movie, and I highly recommend that movie too.
Would you consider Jericho Ridge more of a thriller, or would you categorize it more of a horror?
It was thriller. It was a thriller. Yeah, it wasn't like the horror where there was like movie monsters and all that kind of stuff. It was definitely a thriller.
A thriller, not a lot of like gore or anything.
No, I mean, there was some killing. Right. But it wasn't all that. It wasn't. I could handle it.
Right. Sure. I saw one review of the movie, and they said they think they gave it a 7 out of 10 on IMDb, and that they just said it was actually a fairly decent, enjoyable B film, which the commenter kind of talks about how it's for a B film. It has the casting and performances were good, and the cinematography were really spot on, is what they say. So I'm definitely interested to give that one a watch, because I really like thrillers. I'm not really into gore so much, but I do enjoy a lot of like thrillers. Would you consider the movie having themes of like race? Because I know it is an African American woman who's like the lead character, and I just wondered if that played into the plot at all, without giving maybe too much away.
No. This was they could have actually put anybody in those positions. So it wasn't there wasn't any kind of center on or focus on race at all. So the characters could have been any ethnicity.
That's interesting. Was there any? You said it was obviously like a woman, and she's trying to take care of her and her son's lives. Do you think that there was any, I guess you could say, not really sexism, but like a point in the movie made to kind of like really drive the idea home of like, oh, this is like a mother fighting for her son and her own life towards these? I'm assuming it was mostly men. That's just what you would think of, I think, in a killing sort of situation. You wouldn't necessarily be fighting other women, but
there was a part where it talked about the father of the deputy's her son, and it wasn't in a favorable light. Like the dad was maybe out of the picture and wasn't a good father. So there is a little bit of that dynamic, but it's very short in segment in there. I think the movie mainly was kind of focused on, okay, why are these killers trying to get in the sheriff's station? What are they trying to get out of the sheriff's station? Because I know that's what I was thinking, and it comes out like towards the very end. But that was mainly the theme of it, is the sheriff station is being attacked, and why is it being attacked?
Sure. Yeah. Any good plot twists?
No, you have to watch.
Like,
yeah,
you gotta watch and kind of figure it out yourself a little bit.
Definitely.
I like those movies a lot too. Cool. Yeah, there's not a lot of information online. I know this is obviously a film that came out this year in 2023, but a lot of the, when I was doing just like online research about it, it just has the short of, what would you call it?
Synopsis.
Thank you. The word was escaping me.
It's all right. That's what I'm here for.
All the words. But it just says, trapped and without backup, a small-town cop fights for her life when her remote sheriff's office is targeted by murderous attackers, which you pretty much already said. But that's all they give to you in all the like online websites I've read about it, the synopsis. So definitely a thriller and one to go see. The maybe we can insert this too. The art. Like the cover art for the film, the like poster looks very interesting too. It's almost giving me like, I don't want to say Star Wars vibes, but you see what I'm talking about? Yeah. Kind of like the play between like light and dark and everything. And yeah, I think that sounds awesome. Did you get to talk to people at the film festival or hear about any other films or
not really? This was my first time going, so I didn't realize that on some of the movies, some of the actors or directors or producers actually come out and apparently talk. Now, on Jericho Ridge, there was a member of the Heartland Film Festival that came out and had a microphone, and she was, talking about how she would like this movie, and this was the last day, because Sunday was the last day for the Heartland Film Festival. So it was really kind of neat to kind of see someone come out, and announce the movie's getting ready to play and all that. But this particular movie, I didn't see any of the producers or directors or anything like that there. But looking through the book, on some of the selected movies, they were there to talk to and ask questions and things like that.
That's really cool. I've never been to a film festival either, so I guess you have at least a little bit up on me in that regard. But that sounds really interesting. I would assume maybe not all film festivals, but maybe smaller ones like the one we have here, the Heartland, that there would be people involved in the production, or directors, the producers that could come and not only watch the movie with you, but answer those types of questions and things. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it was great. I look forward to going back again next year. I'm putting it on my list with like Comic-Con, Gen Con, and now the Heartland Film Festival. So
yes, and it says they'll be back for their returning for its 32nd year in October 2024. Okay, maybe somebody messed it up.
So technically, it's the 31st
this year.
This year, next year will be the 32nd.
Yes. Yeah, sounds awesome. I believe it. Is it held at one event center? I saw something online that said it was at the Jazz Kitchen, or is there multiple places?
There's multiple places that host the Heartland Film Festival, so they're not all at one location, and they are throughout, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and some of them are at in Castleton, some of them are like in Noblesville. So you have to look at the list to see exactly where the movie is playing. But it's not like going to one location and then that's where all the movies are.
Sure. Okay, cool. I was just curious about that. What is if people who are interested about going next year, do you know if it must be then if it's day by day in different locations that you would pay to go to each day? Is that kind of a correct assumption?
You pay for each movie that you want to see.
Sure.
And you can go to their website. We'll put the link in so you can kind of figure out how to get there. And once you go there, you can see the lineup of movies. You can purchase your movies or your tickets to see each movie, and then you go there to the movie theater and watch the movie. You don't necessarily, if you go to like the like the movie, like the Glendale Mall Landmark Theater. If you look there, you won't see that movie listed as like the showtime. So you have to go actually to like the Heartland Film Festival like website to actually see where the film is and the time. And then when you go to that particular movie theater, then you will be able to get the ticket, or if you haven't bought it online. But you can't just go to like online, go to like fandango.com,
right?
And then like and go to that movie theater, because those movies won't show up. And matter of fact, I actually went to the counter and I was like, hey, I want to buy a ticket to see Jericho Ridge. And like, oh, Jericho Ridge is not showing. I'm like, well, I looked on Heartland Film Festival and it said it is. Oh, Heartland Film Festival, you got to go over to this ticket booth. So Heartland Film Festival will have their own little booth set up that you would go, and that's where you buy your tickets.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you're buying them in person, obviously.
Right. It almost makes it not like a secret movie event, but you kind of got to be in the know to know all of these things.
Right.
Thanks for being our man on the inside this year.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. Any other comments or what you thought of either the movies or the festival in general?
No, I loved it. I am a big time movie buff. Obviously, people that know me know I like superhero movies, Batman being one of my favorite. But I like movies just basically in general, and movies, reading are some of my hobbies. So it was nice to be able to see this Heartland Film Festival, because I've heard about it a lot, and I just never had attended. And being able to do that for the first time and enjoying it, and now being able to kind of spread the word to other people about it is awesome.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. I'll have to check one out, because I love that, there's so many forms of art, and how, art in general can be interpreted in many different ways depending on your perspective. And I think film is one of those really cool forms where you can really pull a lot of different, like emotions, or even just how they do like a scene, you know what I mean? Or like a B-roll. It's just very interesting. And I really have an appreciation for that part of it myself. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, Mark. And thanks to all of you who support our podcast. Please continue to watch or listen to us on Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other places that play fine podcasts.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.